Lead me aboard.
Energize.
Energizing.
Kirk to transporter room. Report.
Listening to Transporter Room 3 with your hosts Phil Perello and Scott Calora.
Welcome to Transporter Room 3, everybody. Scott, how you doing?
Terrible. How are you?
Peachy, actually. Apparently we are on different spectrums of joy today.
Well, you know, the Star Trek Into Darkness press junket's happening right now in London.
Right.
And I was supposed to be there for it, and I'm not. So
I'm feeling for you, though, man.
Yeah, I'm not too happy about that.
I wouldn't be either, dude.
And it seems like half the critics in America have now seen the film, and you and I still have not seen it.
So proof that there is no justice in this world.
Yeah. Who mourns for Transporter Room 3? That's my new favorite catchphrase. Who mourns for whatever? So
it's not the publicist.
No, the publicists are definitely not mourning for us. Promises were made, gifts exchanged. Can you know what that reference is?
Lex Luthor.
There you go, man. Well done.
Superman 2.
Thank you. Anyway,
I get up early in the morning to get one by me, Scott.
I'm proud of you. But the review embargo lifted in the United States yesterday for Star Trek Into Darkness. So reviews are starting to pour in for the film. I haven't read any of the reviews, but I have, because I kind of want to stay pure and virgin like before I see it. But it seems, just the general impression is that it seems like it's getting kind of positive, great joyride type reviews for the most part, I think. Is that right?
Seems to be. I've read, and I've been spoiler free for fairly long on this one. I don't know why I'm breaking my code, but I've read more reviews than you have, than I should have. And the negative ones are very negative.
Right.
And
they're from the more kind of diehard Trek fan contingent, right?
Yeah, they do. The two I've read,
which isn't to say that they're necessarily not legitimate critics or anything either. But people certainly. Mr. Beeks at Ain't It Cool News is one of them. He's the real deal, right? So
yeah, he's a solid guy. He's quality. I
think what's happening here is because the movie doesn't come out until May 17th here, right? And they lifted the embargo yesterday, which was May 2nd. So that's a pretty far in advance lift on the pretty early lift on the embargo. So I think what's happening here is Paramount is trying to capitalize on the generally softball reviews that they'll get from junket press, which is to say the folks who go in and are right now in London interviewing Chris Pine and J.J. Abrams and Zachary Quinto and the rest of them. The junket press doesn't always amount to the highest end film reviewers, I think.
That's true.
So I think that Paramount can kind of expect a more positive spin from those reviews, and they're the only people who have really screened the film so far is junket press for the most part. So I think that's why they're lifting the embargo now, and a lot of the just straight up film critics still haven't seen the film,
right?
We'll see.
The real critics.
I think, like you and me, obviously. So
yeah.
So we'll see. I'm not sure that whatever it's at on Rotten Tomatoes right now is necessarily an indicator of what it's going to be at 2 weeks from now. I'm going to look that up.
It was at 100%.
Was it? Okay.
It was. But one reviewer said that if you're a fan of shiny objects, you should be home. You should be at home with this movie, like a version of that.
Okay.
And it's like, that's not high praise. I don't want that.
So it's at it's at 88% right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right now? Okay.
Yeah.
The other day it was at 100.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes from here. You and I will we'll probably wind up seeing it on June 17th at the rate we're going.
Well, I know I'm seeing it May 15th. I have my tickets. I've had them since January.
Oh, okay. Is that the film festival?
Those are the fan sneaks that are IMAX only.
Okay.
And I got some great effing seats.
Cool.
So in 12 days, I'll be able to have my heart broken or the other thing.
You know what? Let's before I forget, I wanted to let's move on from Star Trek Into Darkness. I wanted to give a shout out to our loyal listener, Ricardo Henriquez, who he just messaged us yesterday to say that he passed the New York bar exam.
Hey!
And he wanted to thank us at Transporter Room 3, quote unquote, I could always listen to your podcast when I need to unwind and laugh during the long stretches of studying. So congratulations to you, Ricardo. That's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations, man. And thank you for...
Yeah.
It's just surreal to think that our podcast brought you joy.
I know. It's surreal to think that someone actually listens to our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, thank you.
No, that's cool.
But we're sorry, but today's podcast is going to have 30% less funny.
Yeah, we're in a very contemplative state here. So
yeah, we're very, McCoy in the darkened, hollowed quarters of Spock in the opening of Star Trek 3. We're very in that place right now.
By God, Bones, have you lost your mind?
Remember.
He does it great. Part of it's Nimoy voiceover, I think, but part of it is also DeForest Kelley, I think. But, okay, so let's talk about. Today we want to talk a little bit about the Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 3 Blu-ray, which just came out the other day. Which these things are awesome. These Blu-ray sets that they're doing. Yeah,
I think awesome is kind of an understatement, but yes.
Yeah, the extra features.
Are amazing.
The episodes the remastered episodes look great in HD and everything, right? That goes without saying.
Yeah, I think these are the best looking ones yet.
Yeah.
Because I know for the Season 2 set, CBS Digital, they did a little outsourcing on Season 2, and apparently in some review circles, it did not measure up. But this one was all done in-house.
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice that on the Season 2, but then again, I'm not sure if I watched all of the episodes. I don't really remember now. Season 2, what show are we talking about again?
Taxi.
You're right. The Reverend Jim didn't look quite right.
No, he didn't.
But I actually for the Season 3 Blu-ray, the stuff, and this has been true for all 3 seasons, is the stuff that really gets me is the extra features, though. I think that stuff is just fascinating because they're willing to go. It's not the studio electronic press kit fluff sort of stuff. It's just enough time has passed now that you're getting this sort of candid, real stories of what went on to make these episodes. The good and the bad, which is great, and you're hearing it from people like Ron Moore and
Brennan Braga,
Iris Stephen Behr, and it's really just so entertaining.
It's really awesome. Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm sure some of you who own the set, as we're talking about it right now, or have read about it, have seen the Inside the Writer's Room documentary talked about.
Yeah.
That thing was kind of like nerd crack for me. And my only regret is that it ends.
Yeah.
You know? I wanted more. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth. They go into how they broke down the episodes.
Yeah.
And how meticulous of a process it was. And the most surprising reveal for me on that set was their description of Michael Piller.
Yeah.
Because for me, up until that point, like, I thought it was just like he was the guy who came in there and fixed Star Trek to a degree, you know,
right.
grounded the show in character and continued to do so. Then you hear that he was kind of a taskmaster and he's a bit aloof and he didn't want to run the writer's room, so Ira Steven Behr kind of did.
Yeah, which that was very interesting to hear.
It was very interesting. I had no idea that was the case. And I mean, he was well liked and loved, and at the same time, he was a little prickish.
Yeah, you know? He sent out a memo at one point.
How to write?
Writing TV for TV 101, which is like so insulting to the entire staff. It was
they were insulted if you watch the doc, and Behr told him not to send it.
Yeah.
But then you watch, you know, the in memoriam piece that they did on him, and I mean, as much as they were conflicted about him, they still had love for him.
Yeah. Well, look, and here's the thing: if you're going to be a good boss, which is what the showrunner is, right? He's a boss. He's the boss. You have to be firm in what you want. You have to have a vision, and you have to execute it. And you can't be worried about what your employees, your writers are, you know, that you're going to hurt their feelings or anything. I mean, it's your show, and you're the one who's the showrunner. So if they wind up with another season 2 or another season 1. No one would be, no one would be praising Piller now, but because he was, you know, willing to kind of take the approach that he did and be a bit of a jerk off sometimes, I guess, he was able to accomplish what needed to be done for the show and for Star Trek. Right. Something else that's really fun to hear is the account of, you know, Ron, we've heard the story from him a bunch of times, I guess, but Ron Moore really goes through and talks about how he got his big break with The Bonding, the season 3 episode, The Bonding, which was a script he wrote on spec, and ultimately how that got him, a 10-year career on Star Trek. And then there's the lesser known story, which is Rene Echevarria. Is that how you say his name?
Echevarria.
Yeah, so he, and I didn't really remember this or know this as well, but he, and Jonathan Frakes had just mentioned this when we spoke to him in the last podcast, that he wrote, his first script was the Data Lal episode. The Offspring. And that was the same thing. He wrote that on spec, and he tells the story. He was living in New York at the time in the East Village, and he got the call. Yeah, and he got the call from Star Trek.
His girlfriend at the time came running into where he was having lunch and said, "Star Trek called. Star Trek called."
Yeah,
which would happen to me if I was in his shoes.
And he went out to Paramount and took a 2-day meeting, I guess, and they said, well, this is, I guess they liked the script, but there's a lot of things that they wanted to change about it, and they gave it back to him. They said, all right, go home and rewrite it for us. And he totally shit the bed on the rewrite. And Michael Piller called him and said, I'm very disappointed in you. You didn't do you didn't accomplish what we wanted you to accomplish. And I'm afraid I'm going to have to take it from here. And him and Melinda Snodgrass, I think, who was sort of one of the unsung heroes, I think, of early Next Generation scripting, they rewrote that episode uncredited, which obviously Offspring went on to become one of the great episodes. And Renee thought that he was crushed. He thought his career was over before it even began. But they ultimately wound up giving him another shot. And obviously he went on to become a mainstay as well. So it's really the stories about how these episodes were made are just really something. And Ron Moore does an audio commentary with the Akudas on The Bonding as well, which is a lot of fun to hear. You know, this Ron Moore, I think I must have heard him badmouth Gene Roddenberry four or five times.
Yeah, he even says at one point, I don't want to be the guy who. He says something the equivalent of, I don't want to be the guy who's bashing Roddenberry, but yeah.
but I am.
Yeah, it sounds like Roddenberry was tough, man. Like,
he seemed like
a dramatist who wanted to have no drama between his characters.
Yeah. And when he would come out there he was sort of, I guess he was kind of in this unassailable position, but as being Roddenberry, the creator of the show. And yet he didn't necessarily have any real power ultimately, because I think it was it Yesterday's Enterprise that he was not happy with at all. And Ron Moore and Michael Piller and Rick Berman all took a meeting with Roddenberry. Roddenberry tore the script apart. And when they left the meeting, Ron Moore was like, he was like this kid, and he was totally shattered that Roddenberry had torn his script apart. And it was like, at this point, it was a rewrite, I guess, that he had undertaken. And they were like, don't worry about what Gene said. Just go ahead and write it. I think it was for Yesterday's Enterprise. And they totally just ignored what Roddenberry said and went ahead with it. So,
right. Well, do you remember the story that Behr told about his original plans for Captain's Holiday?
Yeah. I had never heard that before.
Grim.
Yeah.
I'm going to save that. Just watch the set. Get this set. I know it's a little pricey. Convince a wealthy aunt to get it for you as an extra early birthday present or something.
Yeah. There's Christmas a lot of stuff. Yeah, I guess we probably shouldn't blow all the stories here, but we can't tell them as well.
It's damn good. And there's some great commentaries. Any writers out there, listen to the commentary for The Bonding.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're in anything resembling a rut or doing the self-doubt thing, because it more has some, on the nose, inspirational things to say, and a lot of stuff that isn't too on the nose, but is also equally inspirational, just because this guy was in the trenches and knows what it's like. So give it a listen. And it's also cool, Sins of the Father, to hear Ron Moore read the story memos that he still has about that episode. It's pretty cool.
Is that on? Is that in the extras or is that the commentary?
It's on the commentary. He says something to the equivalent of, "To this day, I still get chills from the story notes Piller gave on the first draft of Sins of the Father." He reads a segment of that aloud.
Okay.
And then he talks about how he took that draft and rewrote it because he worked on it with another writer at first. And he defaulted to that guy because he was more senior, and Piller didn't like anything the senior guy was doing. So Ron Moore kind of pushed it more into the place where he originally wanted it to go. Okay,
I haven't listened to that yet. I need to check.
It's good. And then Piller was like, "I don't know anything about the Klingons. Tell me about the Klingons." So Ron Moore had to write like a 2-page memo about who the Klingons are, and he reads from that. And it's like, Ron Moore is just the coolest fucking dude.
He is, man. We got to get him on here sometime to talk.
I would buy him a steak dinner at Morton's.
Yeah. Back when he was doing Galactica, I used to interview him all the time about Galactica, like once or twice. In the beginning, anyway, the first couple of seasons, I think, once or twice a season. And then the Sci-Fi Channel would always have, it was still the Sci-Fi Channel back then, I think. They would have these parties in New York whenever a new season would start. And it was great, go there and get drunk and talk, totally photobomb the cast but more. I mean, we've talked about this before, but he's a really smart guy, and he's always got something interesting to say. Yeah, and he doesn't bullshit. He just says what he thinks, and he tells you the truth. Usually, you don't get that sort of Hollywood BS thing that is just usually so prevalent. Right. So we need to bring him on here if we can find him at some point, and that would be awesome. But the Blu-rays are great. I know people have complained that they're expensive. I don't know what to say. Wait for them to go on sale or they have them at Redbox or something. I don't know, but or just get your rich aunt to pay for them because they're really
or uncle.
Really great. Or uncle, yeah. And then there's the we also wanted to just talk quickly about the Fathom screening as well, which was, I guess that was last week. Where the Best of Both Worlds screening. You were at the star-studded celebrity screening, Phil, weren't you?
Yes, I was. And I shook Ira Steven Behr's hand and LeVar Burton's hand.
Now, so how is that? Are they all lined up and everyone's just walking down the aisle to meet them, or was it just that some people kind of crowd them or at some point?
Yeah, it was. Behr was just kind of hanging out by the entrance, and LeVar Burton was being a bit showier.
Okay.
And then they all gathered a bit. They all gathered with Denise and Michael Kuda in the front.
And Shelby
Robert,
too, right?
Yeah, and Shelby and Robert blah 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 Burnett. Okay. I know he only has one middle name, and I think it's Meyer, but I refuse to say it.
That's the guy who he's involved in the creation of these extra features.
Right. But
now,
I gotta say though, LeVar Burton did not look me in the eye when I went to go shake his hand.
He didn't?
It kind of bothered me.
Did you tell him that you were the host of Transporter Room 3, which he has guested on?
I did not.
Good.
But I did say, you don't have to take my word for it. And I did say, I quoted his Best of Both Worlds line, we lost a lot of good people down there.
Did you do the totally unnecessary drop and roll under the closing warp door?
I wish I did, goddammit.
He's weird he comes off as kind of strange in the extra features too, doesn't he?
Very something. Yeah. A little bit.
I saw he had an awkward exchange with Rick Berman on Twitter. Rick Berman's now on Twitter. If you want some more kind of honest behind the scenes stuff.
I checked him out a few times too.
Yeah, he just sort of sporadically will tweet something about the making of the show, but it's kind of
it's like he has Star Trek trivia Tourette's.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's usually, again, kind of just, he's at a place now where he'll just say what comes to mind and it doesn't matter. There's no politics to it or anything.
Yeah, don't give a F.
Yeah. So, and he had an awkward thing. There was an awkward exchange between him and LeVar Burton because he said something about like our best actors or something like our best actors were the guy that played with Dominic Keating and something.
Oh, right.
Something like that. And LeVar was like
natural actors or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. And LeVar Burton saw it and tweeted back. He was like, "Oh yeah, thanks." I can't remember the wording, but it was a little awkward. And he's like, LeVar Burton was like, "Well, if you had given some of your other actors something to actually do," something like that. So.
Damn. It was interesting that Berman did not cite Stewart as like one of the most natural actors.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
The Stewart's the shit.
Yeah, but I guess he's more theatrical than natural.
But he's awesome.
Hey, listen, man, you don't have to tell me. I spent the 1990s stalking that guy cross country.
Oh, that's right.
Cross oceans even. So, all right. I wanted to also touch upon Best of Both Worlds, the prospect of our sometime guest Jordan Hoffman raised this point after the Best of Both World screenings the other night, which was he was like, "Man, I really wish I could see a show based on that universe where Shelby is the second in command and Riker's captain now." And I was feeling the same way when I got out of the screening, which is like, I just wish I could have seen more Shelby, and Shelby is so great in the first episode, and then they kind of don't really utilize her much in Best of Both Worlds Part 2, if you ask me. But the idea of that Enterprise where Picard doesn't make it, and it's Riker's Enterprise and Shelby's the XO. Right. That would be great. I would love to see that. I don't know if they've done anything like that in novelizations or what, but
yeah, I don't know if they have either.
Well, in Parallels, the Worf traveling through alternate universes episode, there is a brief glimpse of the heavily bearded Riker saying the Borg are everywhere, right?
Right.
That, I guess, is that a version of that. Although Shelby's nowhere to be seen. I guess she didn't make it either at that point. But Shelby's great.
Shelby is really strong, and I wish they brought her back.
She did go on to did they? Was she on in like one of Peter David's series of novelizations or something?
Oh, was she?
I don't know. What the fuck? Why are you asking me? I don't know. I don't know. I know that there was a series of books. I think it was Peter David, where I don't know what it was called, but it was a different ship, but they brought in some of those characters, like maybe, I don't know, Robin Leffler might have been in it, like characters who we kind of had briefly seen made up the crew of this ship. I thought maybe Shelby was in on that. I don't know. If anyone knows, you guys can write in and let us know. But so what's the Phil? What do you think the season 4 episodes will be if and when they have a screening?
I wonder if they'll do redemption. Because it's hard for me to think of like the big type of showcasey episode. I mean, I would love to see family on the big screen.
Family would be great. You think it's flashy enough, though?
See, no, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, season 3 and 4 are my favorites, but I don't know if 4 is the best one or is 3. You know?
It's hard to say. It's almost like maybe the first half of the second half of 3, the first half of 4 are kind of the sweet spot, maybe.
But if you listen to Ron Moore, he says that season 6 they felt like was one of their best. Like they were working at all cylinders on season 6.
I'll have to look at it.
That was not enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd have to look at season 6 again because I don't remember it that way at all.
Yeah, I season 6 and 7, not for me.
Yeah.
What episodes would you like to see, Scott?
Yeah, well, I love family. Maybe
Reunion.
Reunion is a favorite, but I feel like I would think they would only do one Klingon episode. So if they did Reunion, they wouldn't do the cliffhanger.
They wouldn't do Redemption.
Yeah, but maybe Reunion might be the better way to go anyway, because then you don't have to. Then you're not playing a cliffhanger episode, which might be a little weird.
Right. I wonder if that's what they're going to do, though. Like, they'll just show Redemption 1 and 2.
Yeah, maybe. I hope not. Redemption's cool, but I would rather they mix it up a little bit. But you know what? Really? I didn't even need to see Best of Both Worlds Part 2 the other day. I would have been happy just watching the first one.
Right. Yesterday's Enterprise, and then yesterday's Enterprise. I think that's what they should have done. Like, done the cliffhanger instead of showing the full movie.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah.
That's just me.
But the people going to see it all know how it ends anyway. For the most part, right? So.
And I honestly I was a little bummed after he says, "Mr. Worf, fire." Because that moment is built to cliffhang, you know?
Yeah.
Not to immediately progress to the deflector dish firing.
Right, yeah. And they...
Oh, go ahead.
Well, they even recut... I mean, it's recut, right? Even the music at that moment is recut. So it's... when you know the episodes, you know, as sort of scarily religiously as we do.
There's nothing scary about it. It's all love.
I actually peel my face off during that moment, like while I'm worshiping an atomic bomb on this side of the room, and I'm watching Best of Both Worlds over there. It's a little strange. It's a little weird at that point, actually, with the way the way they recut it. So
it's a little weird. Yeah, for sure.
But
my money now, I'm thinking for season 4, The Wounded would be awesome.
Yeah. Please.
Please.
I love The Wounded.
Throw that up there. It's a great episode.
Is the Drumhead season 4?
I believe the Drumhead is season 5. Hold on, I'm looking it up. Play some on hold music while our listeners
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, don't do that.
You know what I'll say while we wait for you to look it up?
Yes, season 4. You're right, Scott.
It is season 4. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great episode.
All right. So anyway, we'll find out. I think without a doubt there will be a season 4 screening. The one I attended in the blight of suburbia out here on Long Island was almost at max. I mean, the theater was almost completely full.
We had overflow into a second theater.
Yeah. So no, of course, Best of Both Worlds is a big draw, but I think that there'll certainly be a season 4 one. We'll see what it is, what they screen. But perhaps now it is time to move on to our red shirt of the week.
We take this time to remember those who have laid their lives down for Starfleet. This is the red shirt of the week.
Of course. And I wish we could find one from Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah.
We could say those poor bastards who were victims of the cutting beam.
Yeah.
The engineering section.
We lost a lot of good people down there, sir.
We lost a lot of good people down there. We could say that poor yellow shirt security officer who gets Borg armed to the neck, who goes tumbling back.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't know if he dies, but
we're not sure. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he kills himself later. We could say the entire fleet of Wolf 359, but we're going original series this week.
Yeah.
Just because there's this guy, man, you got to give it to him. Lieutenant Junior Grade Joe Tormolin. I might be mispronouncing his name. Naked Time. I just remember him, the way he said, it's not ours. It's not ours. He gets infected with that Psi 2000 disease.
What is he talking about when he says that?
I can't remember.
It's like it's not our right to be out here in space.
Yeah,
or something
basically.
Like that. Yeah,
it's not ours.
Taking a real it's taking a real hippie approach to the whole Strange New Worlds thing.
Well, that's what that polywater intoxication does to you, man. That's what he had. So he's wielding this butter knife that has, like, apparently in the future, butter knives have pencil erasers on the end of them. Little rubber stops. He died of a minor injury inflicted on himself during the struggle for that knife.
He lost the will to live, Jim.
He lost the will to live, as we learned following that act break. And Riley calls it in, and he's more concerned about having the Psi 2000 disease on his shiny hand, because his hand looks crazy effing shiny in that shot, than he is that he's calling in that this guy just butter knifed himself to death. And I know he wore a blue tunic, but man, he, as red shirt desks go, that was a good one.
Yeah. Is he the only one who died from the Psi 2000 virus?
Oh no, that episode, a whopping 5 young-blooded Enterprise crew members bit it. And we will be talking about them in a future installment of Red Shirt. But for right now, the black armbands are put on for Lieutenant Junior Grade. It's not ours. Go.
All right. Well, on that note, I guess that's it.
Note, this has been a wildly uneven episode of Transporter Room 3. I hope you enjoyed it. As promised, 30% less funny.
Listen, we're doing the best we can here.
Next week, we'll be back with, I don't know, an episode review of, what do you say, Scott? Voyager? Original series? One of those two? I
think we've been promising that, right? And then we've, like, I don't know, other things have come up. So, yeah, I think we should, if we haven't seen Star Trek Into Darkness at that point, we'll do an Enterprise or a Voyager episode, I think.
Sure. I
want to do Tuvix. Remember Tuvix? We'll talk.
You can podcast alone on that one.
We'll talk. So
stop being friends, Scott. On that note, Scott, thank you again for joining me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And we'll see you on Gravette Island.